Okay, finding the special trig values. Making sure that you can first figure out what quadrant it's in or where it ends up. So when you look at this one, let me grab my ink. So when I look at this one, negative 7 pi over 2, I'm going in the negative direction. When you think of angles close to negative 7 pi over 2, negative 6 pi over 2 ends up right here because that's negative 3 pi. All odd multiples of pi end up here. So negative 3 pi is here. I'm going in the negative direction. So that's not quite enough. I have to go another pi over 2 in the negative direction, which puts me here. So that ordered pair is 0, 1. And so the sign is the y value. All right. Tangent of 15 pi over 4. Again, now we're doing the positive direction. We're going around the circle. When I get to 16 pi over 4, that's here because that's 4 pi. So 4 pi ends up over here, an even multiple of pi. So if I were going in the positive direction, 15 force pi would end up there. Ordered pair, radical 2 over 2, negative radical 2 over 2. The reference angle is pi over 4. Tangent is y over x. So if I took the y value over the x value, remember when I do that, if I multiplied by 2 over 2, these 2's will end up dropping out always. So really, when I look at this, I know I'm just going to take the y over the x. I can realize that the 2's are going to drop out. So I have negative radical 2 over radical 2. And so anything over itself is 1. So I get negative 1. Okay, let's try another one. 11 pi over 4 is close to 12 pi over 4, and 12 pi over 4 is 3 pi. So that's why that one will end up over there. So if I'm going around the positive direction, and I'm going to get, remember 11 pi, don't want to do that. Alright, 11 pi over 4 will be here, because remember we're going in the positive direction. 12 pi puts me here, so 11 is a little bit less than that. Reference angle is pi over 4, so negative radical 2 over 2, positive radical 2 over 2. I want the cosecant. Cosecant is the reciprocal of the sine. So all I need to do is take that y value and flip it. So I get negative radical, or I get 2 over radical 2. All I'm doing is taking the y value and flipping it, but I have to rationalize the denominator. So when I do that, I'm going to get 2 radical 2 over 2 radical 2 times radical 2 is radical 4, and these 2's will drop out, so I'm just left with radical 2. So what I'll look for when I grade these is, are you in the right quadrant? Do you have the right ordered pair? Do you realize that you have to take the y value and take the reciprocal of that, and then can you simplify it? So I'll be looking for those 4 things. Okay, 21 pi is going to end up right here, because that's an odd multiple of pi. So the ordered pair, negative 1, 0. And so the secant's the reciprocal of the cosine. So if you take negative 1, which is like negative 1 over 1, and take its reciprocal, you're still going to get negative 1. So when you take the negative 1 and flip it, you still get negative 1. Now if I had asked for the cosecant of 21 pi, now if you took 0 and tried to flip it, if you try to take 0 over 1 and flip it, you're going to get 1 over 0. That can't happen. So when you see the cosecant of 21 pi, since the sign is 0, the cosecant is undefined, if I would ask a question like that. 31 pi over 6, 30 pi over 6 is here, because that's 5 pi. So if I'm going around the circle, 30 pi gets me here over 6, I have to go 1 more 6th. So my reference angle is pi over 6, so that means my ordered pair is negative radical 3 over 2, negative 1/2. I want the cotangent, so I'm going to take x over y. negative radical 3 over negative 1, because remember the 2's are going to drop out. A negative divided by negative is a positive radical 3. Okay, so that's those kinds of problems. The other kinds of problems you're going to have is where you have to, I give you some information and you have to find the other trig values. So if I give you a point that's on the terminal side, so I say 5, negative 1, x is 5, y is negative 1, you have to find r. So 5 squared plus negative 1 squared equals r squared. 25 plus 1 is 26, so square root of 26 is equal to r. Remember, r is always positive. It's a radius. So if r is the square root of 26, now I can find all the 6 trig values. The cosine of my angle theta is going to equal the x value over the radius, which when I rationalize my denominator, I'm going to get 5 radical 26 over 26. That's the x, that's the cosine. Sine of my angle is going to equal the y value over r. When I rationalize my denominator, I'll get negative square root of 26 over 26. That's the sine. Tangent. Tangent is going to be y over x, negative 1/5. Cotangent is the reciprocal of that, negative 5. The secant. Secant is a reciprocal of the cosine, and instead of taking this and flipping it, I would take this one and flip it. So I would just get square root of 26 over 5. And then the cosecant, same thing. I would, when I take the reciprocal of the sine, I would take this one, I'd take this one, and get negative radical 26. So those are my 6 answers that I needed. Okay, so when I give you a point, you just have to, you know the x and the y, you just need to figure out r. The other kind of problem I could give you is where I give you some information, like the secant is greater than 0. Secant's reciprocal of cosine, and that's the x value. So I know that it's over here in the first or the fourth. The cosecant has to do with the y, the sine, the y value, so it's negative. So now I know my picture is down here. So that'd be where the point that you would tell me that you're in the fourth quadrant. So when I go to draw this triangle, I'll draw my triangle in. When I draw the triangle in, first of all, I know that cosecant is r over y. And if I look at that, I have a negative 9. Well, the r value has to be positive. So that, and I know y has to be negative because it's down here. So that tells me that really when I see this, I'm thinking of 9 over negative 1. And so my r value is 9, my y value is negative 1. I have to find x. So x squared plus negative 1 squared equals 9 squared. So 81 minus 1 is 80. So x is going to equal the square root of 80, which reduces to, let's see, 80 is 16. Square root of 16 is 4. 16 times 5, so 4 radical 5. That's the x value. And so then I can find, once I have that, and that's positive because it's going to the right, because remember this could be a positive or a negative number here, this x. So if it's going to the right, obviously it's positive. So now I have to find out my trig functions. Cosine is going to equal the x value over r, so 4 radical 5 over 9. Sine is the y value over r. Tangent is y over x, so negative 1 over 4 radical 5. I need to rationalize that, so I just multiply by radical 5 over radical 5. So I get negative radical 5 on the top. Denominator, I'm going to get 4 times 5, which is 20. Cotangent is the reciprocal of the tangent, so if I take this and take its reciprocal, I get a 4 radical 5. I've already got the cosecant, so I just need the secant. Secant is the reciprocal of the cosine, so that's going to be the r value over the x value. I need to rationalize. Multiply by radical 5 over radical 5. I get 9 radical 5 over 4 times 5 over 20. So those are my my 5 trig functions that I had to find. So just realize that you draw your picture. This is going to give you enough information to get your quadrant. Draw your picture. You're going to have to find the missing value. Be careful whether this, when you're solving, this could be positive or negative. You got to decide, is that x value positive or negative? Once you have your picture drawn, then you just fill in your missing trig thing. And that is all you really need to know for the quiz.